Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. I am. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kevin Lundell, and I am the current male engagement specialist on the New York State PTA. Thank you all for being here. See a lot of familiar faces, see some new names. So I'm going into my fourth year of being a part of the PTA. I'm past president, current VP, and like I said, the male engagement specialist for New York State PTA. I'm also associate director for my region. And so why the PTA? For me, it was pretty easy. I wanted to get involved in my daughter's lives, and the opportunity came up at the school, and I kind of just jumped on board. So here's my three girls. The one holding the marshmallow is my oldest, that's Callista. The one in the middle is Shay, and my little bean down there, that is Elodie, who's actually turning 6 on Tuesday. Time flies. So by the end of this presentation, we're going to talk a lot, and you guys will kind of hear the need for male engagement in our children's lives. Some barriers for father involvement or male involvement. It could be uncle, it could be older brothers, et cetera, grandparents. And we're going to talk about ways to engage men and increase male involvement in membership, and then some key strategies for starting a male engagement program. Keeping in mind, a lot of this is outside the pandemic. Obviously, things are going to be a little bit different this year. Nobody really knows how or what, but we're specifically going to be talking today about some things that we can do. Also, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them into the chat box. Thanks. Okay, so ways to engage and increase PTA male membership. We're going to get into a really neat presentation that the National PTA did about the ABCs of male engagement. Some really interesting facts there. First of all, let's talk about like male engagement by the numbers and the importance of male involvement by the numbers in the home. So these are some really kind of alarming statistics, and I'm a data guy. Like, I like to see things. Once you talk about it, it's one thing, but when you actually see the numbers come up in black and white, it makes a big difference. So 1 in 4 children live in a home without a father. There's no male role model. Again, whether it's an uncle, grandfather, brother, et cetera, or a father. 92% of parents in prison are fathers. It's a big number. In a study of 3.7 million unwed mothers, reports show roughly 40% of fathers have no contact with children during the previous year. So when we look at these numbers, you start to kind of like realize, there's a big gap of that involvement. A father absent from the household sees his child on an average of 12 days a month. It's not a lot. Again, the importance of male involvement by the numbers, education. Fatherless children are twice as likely to drop out of school. Again, there's that disconnect between a male role model. Students living in father-absent homes are twice as likely to repeat a grade in school. 50% of all children with highly involved fathers in a 2-parent families report getting mostly A's through 12th grade, compared to 35.2% of children in non-resident father families. So, kind of gives you a bit more. And I added the link down at the bottom here of where we got this information from. So positive impact of male involvement. Role modeling, making choices, improved problem-solving abilities. And I like talking about the problem-solving abilities too, because that can kind of roll into like the social, emotional aspect of things. And, sometimes just being present in somebody's life can help with that. Providing financial support, providing emotional support, and improve student performance. Just want to take a quick pause right here and see if there's any questions coming through. Nope. Okay, cool. Next, we're going to talk about identifying some barriers. Why aren't we seeing, more men involved in PTA or volunteer opportunities? Male involvement barriers, possible reasons fathers are not involved. Getting dads into the school building. Institutional practices. Language and cultural barriers. Disconnected community-based organizations. Education. No time. Hear that all the time. I have no time.
Okay, I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Just stand by. Do you want to log back in, Kevin? We will be right back. Mary, can you hear me? I just want to make sure people can hear me. Okay, good.
I can hear you.
All right. Yeah. Let me get you back in as co-host. Okay, you should still be a co-host, so you should be able to share screen. All right. I don't hear you yet. Are you muted?
How about now?
There you go.
Cool.
All right, we're back.
So thank you for that brief pause. Appreciate that. So engaging men in our PTA. We see an increase in attendance. Kids are more involved in activities. Look at that logo. It's real pretty. Cognitive development improves and overall better student outcomes. This is just true to form, again, it's all data driven. We see better results when there are male role models involved in PTA units. So let's talk about how we can make our PTA more male friendly. And again, these are conversations that are ever evolving, and it's always nice to talk about what the real barriers are and what we can do to try to overcome some hurdles. So, talking to dads on the importance of their involvement. Maybe guys just don't feel like helping out at the school would really make a difference or an impact, but we have to have those conversations.
Kevin, I just want to interrupt you for just 1 second. We did have a question come in, and I didn't want it to get lost. We wanted to know where the data was coming from for the improved outcomes. So
we added the URL, and I'll be happy to provide the links of where we got all the data.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So continuing on, emphasizing getting involved doesn't necessarily mean a large time commitment, right? We need to separate the time commitment versus just being able to help out, because there's multiple ways that we can see guys volunteer to help out at the schools. Design invitation messages specifically for dads, maybe having some events that might be more geared towards men or fathers. Sign up male and female PTA recruiters. This is a big one too, because in my experience, in my unit, I have seen that some of the moms or the female PTA recruiters have an easier time talking to the guys. And sometimes I've had an easier time talking to some of the moms, and vice versa. It all depends on your audience, but having both a male and female PTA recruiter has been very helpful in our school. Always actively seeking male membership in the community. Publicize the male involvement in PTA. I heard Mary earlier talking about the March Madness, making sure that we highlight those awards and that we're specifically talking about the why and making it known. Communicate effectively with men. And yeah, so, I'm sure a lot of you know, like sometimes for me, I take direction really well. And sometimes I just need to be told, like, go pick that box up, move it over there, hang this balloon over here, move that sign a little to the left. And that's how it works for me. That might not be for everybody, but, communication is definitely key. Ask. I mean, it's so simple, but it gets so lost. Nobody ever asked me. Everybody just thought that maybe I just didn't want to be a part of. And again, down at the bottom there, we have another link where we're getting some of this information. So earlier you heard me talk about this next set of slides, the ABCs of male engagement. This comes from National PTA. We can provide a link for that too. It's on their website under the male engagement. And so we'll talk about the ABCs here, excuse me. So again, going back to the ask, nearly half the men polled said they weren't even asked to join a PTA. They never, the conversation never got brought up. So, just having that, breaking down that initial barrier of just saying like, hey, do you want to join the PTA? Do you want to help be involved? So make the ask relevant, connect it to the number one reason why men say they join. Lead PTA, improve school to benefit the kids, always aligning it back to the kids. Also relevant in surveys, being a role model, volunteering with my family. Tell men that joining, helping demonstrates an interest in the school and the child's education, shows support for teachers and the school system, being present. Men surveyed, say recruit other men by asking men to be active in your child's life. They find the message, it works, be involved with your child, PTA benefits your child, help your child, PTA membership is good for your child, supports the success of your child. Men respond to other men. This is true, Be very specific. Surveys show that one parent is responsible for reading and processing items sent as attention parents, and the other person is usually the female. So be clear that you are talking to men, dads, brothers, uncles, etc. And I know in my house, again, speaking for me, if it comes addressed to attention parents, I know exactly who's handling that, and it's not me. So when something comes home and it says, to the father, to the whoever, the male person that might be a part of that family. And again, your school knows your families. So, when those things kind of come home, make sure that you're having those conversations as well. Bend, be flexible, do things differently, think outside of the box. Hi, Kyle. Men tell us the number one reasons why they don't join PTAs because they don't have the time. Again, separate the time from joining or supporting. Just because, whenever you think of like volunteering, it doesn't have to be a large time commitment. We ask at our school if you can do 3 hours for the whole school year. 3 hours is not a lot. I know that you can get a lot done in those 3 hours. If you want volunteers, be specific about the requirements. This is so important. Again, in my experience, a lot of guys they want clear direction. What am I doing? You're showing up at the school, you're moving 5 tables, you need to pull the liners out of the garbage cans, and you need to wave the kids when they show up, and then you get to go home. Clear direction. They would volunteer if their roles and expectations were clearly defined. Because again, the PTA is not just a bake sale anymore, and I think we all know that. Surveys show men are result-oriented. They don't join or volunteer for social contact. They want to know their volunteer hours will lead to measurable results. Again, I'm a data guy. I appreciate these things like what's the outcome? Why are we doing this? Men told us they are most likely to get involved if other men are involved or if their entire family can participate and be involved. Communication is the cornerstone. Keep going back to this. Communication, ask. We asked men how to communicate effectively to get more engaged joining the PTA. Their number one response, male-oriented advertising. Ask. Message to men. Tell them that they are welcome. Highlight the involvement. Recognize male volunteers. The number 2 response, have other guys ask other guys. If you want volunteers, be specific about your requirements. Almost half the men surveyed said that they would volunteer if their roles and expectations were clearly defined. We talked about that earlier. Communicate the goals. Regularly communicate your progress. Tie volunteering membership to those goals. Mary, this is why, membership is so important because all of this stuff really aligns. promote the value of what you do and how it helps kids in the school succeed, whether it's a book fair or field day or any of the other events that you have. Men told us they are most likely to get involved if other guys are involved. Again, we saw that before too. All people, male and female, want to be part of a winning team, a successful organization, a fruitful effort. Connect the work of your volunteers and members to the success of your work. So again, I think it's also just going back to that communication. So let's just stop here, take a quick little pause if there's any questions coming through. No. Okay.
I got a comment though.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I got a comment that says, "This is awesome."
Oh, thanks. I think so too.
We need more guys for sure.
We do. Absolutely we do. Okay, male engagement tips. Way to increase results. I mean, this is really trial and error. Neutral themes, got to put them out there. Our school has really changed a lot of the ways that we've done things. We've moved away from kind of the old school PTA events and sort of tried to come into like newer neutral themes. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, I see head nods. Host scheduled father-child events at school. Now, keeping in mind our school, we specifically know not every family has a father. And again, this is going to go back into, do you have an older brother? Do you have a younger brother? Do you have an uncle? Do you have a neighbor? Does mom have a coworker that's really close with the family? Is there somebody in your neighborhood that's a local volunteer firefighter that maybe might help out and look out to the kids? It doesn't always have to stop at that father. It can be any other guy. So, try to look into having those events at the school. Male-friendly language and messaging. For me, keep it simple. Like real simple. What do I have to wear? What time do I have to be there? That's it. Too many details get lost in the weeds. Stay in contact with your participating guys. It's really easy to see. So again, going back to my school, my experience, we'll recruit guys. They'll show up for 1 or 2 events. They'll help out. They'll dig in, but then they kind of get lost after a while. You got to kind of keep that open line of communication with them and let them know, like, hey, you're doing a great job. Hey, it was really helpful that you were there that day. We had a Santa Claus event at our school and we messed up the date and Santa didn't show up. We had one of our dads put on the Santa Claus costume and he just rolled out and was Santa for the day. And I mean, without recognizing that, and that would have been for anybody, it's really important to stay in contact with those people and show their appreciation. Encourage males to become PTA leaders. It's a predominantly female-run organization. It's been for years, and there's nothing wrong with us, stepping up and trying to help out and be of service where we can be. Listen, we ask, they listen. We all have to share here. So you have to let guys, seriously value their suggestions. Maybe it's not the best thing that you want for a specific event, but let's be open. So some next steps, some key strategies for starting a male engagement program. Identify strong leaders. Educate men about the importance of their involvement. Meet with leadership and key players. Establish a plan of action. This is really important. Meet with local administrators for approval. Develop male engagement teams of men and women. Adapt communication and activities for male involvement. Keep the momentum up. Record time. Thank you, guys. So I welcome questions. I welcome feedback. This has not always been the easiest role to try to get guys. I mean, I've literally had guys laugh in my face and be like, I'm not joining the PTA, but here's my $12. And for me, it's not about the money. I think it's so important, for me being a father of 3 girls, to see like my kids, pre-COVID walking down the hallway and getting high fives as I'm like hanging up the Scholastic Book Fair banners, So
Someone wants you to go back to the last slide, if you
I
could.
can do that. Yeah.
And then also there's a question about awards. Besides March Madness, are there any programs, ideas for men that you can think of that are offered?
So in the way of awards, outside of what the New York State PTA does, I mean, I don't really think that there's many other awards. There's other groups and organizations that are out there. We've worked with some before. All Pro Dad is a really great one. There's another one. Talk to Men is another good one. That one focuses more on domestic violence. All Pro Dad is a very sports driven group. And then the other one I'm trying to think of that they have a group that comes in Watchdogs. That's another one that we hear throughout the PTA family. And it's a group of guys that pre-COVID, like everything else, would come to the school a couple hours out of the month and would just make themselves available to kind of mentor, talk, again, maybe high five the kids, see if they need help with some stuff. I mean, I've done it all from getting down and helping a kid tie their shoes to, bloody noses, and then all the other things that come in. Being involved in the schools for me has been like really great.
There was a question about any strategies that you have tried that did not work.
No. I mean, I mean, honestly, like it's not a segregated group. It's really like when you're working, and again, I speak specifically from my unit. We were very lucky that we all kind of collaborated well together. Everybody wanted to try new things, and we knew that we had to get more guys involved. And we did like other events. I mean, I talk about an event that we did. It was called Touch a Truck, and it's basically we got our fire department and ambulance. We had a helicopter come. We had some guys that drove dump trucks over, and it just gave the kids a place to go and crawl around and honk horns and eat food and just play. And it was a great event. And that was one of those things where it was sort of like outside of the box. And that was like, again, one of those strategies to get more people involved. Seeing dads there show up with their kids and being like, this was a really great event. It's a lot different than having a flower sale at the school. And like, we just got to try to remember to try different things. And, going back to talking about like, trying to target more male driven kind of activities. That was one of those things where it was like, these things could be really cool. Again, it was for all ages. When you have a helicopter land in a field, a medevac helicopter, I mean, there was adults who were like, wow,
We had another question, Kevin, about would you market subgroups or labels such as PTA Dad?
I don't know. I mean, I think some of those subgroups that we've had that we see in other schools, like the Watchdogs, those are specifically male labeled groups, but I don't think as a parent teacher association that we would create a subgroup of just a male PTA.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I would
that's
say
really
different marketing materials, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal is not to segregate that. We want everybody to work together and we want everybody to collaborate.
Someone's mentioning that the dads seem to drop off after the children get a little older. Are there any suggestions on engaging dads of kids that are, 4 and 8 or beyond?
Yeah, this is great. And I get this question all the time. Don't forget, there's always new kindergarten parents enrolling every year. That doesn't change. So you have to cycle back around. Usually right now, like my daughter's going into 6th grade and I have a daughter going into 1st grade. So right now I've become, I'm trying to really get friendly and talk with the pre-K, kindergarten, 1st grade parents. And because usually by 5th grade rolls around, people are like walking to the school like this, like, oh, here he comes again, so they're done. They've put in their time, and rightfully so. If that's their deal, that's what they do. But we always try to like encourage new families. We also host an event. The PTA hosts an event again pre-COVID where we do a tour. We would open up the school on an evening, and we would bring new families, whether if they're newly registered to the school, it doesn't matter what grade, or if they're just enrolling in pre-K or kindergarten. And we would introduce the PTA to these new parents, and that would be, here's your membership form, here's some upcoming events, have a tour. The principal would be there, the resource officer, the bus company came to let the kids get on a bus, because some of these kids had never stepped foot on a bus before. And that was sort of our like, gotcha. Like, okay, you're here. It's the PTA's hosting this event, not the school. So sign here, give me your $12. And when can I call you?
Going back to that question about the older kids, I think if you have a PTA that is your school, and maybe it's just a high school PTA, you really have to, I think, concentrate on advocacy too. In that age group, it's going more to, why are you a PTA member? I mean, our membership supports all the advocacy that we do at the state level, at the national level for children. And the more people that are involved and the stronger our voices, regardless of what age group we're talking about, I think at that level, at the high school level, they can understand that even more and be involved in that, because it affects them, it affects their future children, it affects, everyone around them in how our children's potentials are realized. So I think more focusing maybe at the later, older age groups, we do more bringing the dads in that way.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, I don't know, in our family and in our unit, like seeing in our middle school and high school, just seeing the kids volunteer. I've never really seen many kids who are just like, this is horrible. I don't ever want to do this again. Usually when people are doing something that's like giving back or volunteering for something specific at the actual event, you kind of get that excitement going. My daughters, they love volunteering. My 11-year-old always says, that felt so good. And I was like, didn't it? It was fun. So
Anybody
we got a
else?
lot of time left.
We do. We have a lot of time for questions for Kevin. And we do have after this the mental health panel that everyone is invited to join. That is a different platform. You'll be going to the Start Meeting platform, which you were given that link to log in, because we do have over 600 people registered for that event. So if you don't have any more questions for Kevin, we'll stay on here for a little bit if you do, but if not, we'll see you on the mental health panel. And I know we're giving some prizes away at the end of that as well. So always something to look forward to. Here's a question. What do you think of something like Dad of the Month feature?
I don't know.
I think it's always great to honor and recognize our volunteers, whether they're male or female. So, yeah. I mean, why not? Don't forget about the dads. But definitely, like Kevin said before, we want to make it one PTA, all of us together.
I think it's nice to host events or keep certain events in mind that might be, I know in some schools they have, donuts with dads, or, dudes and donuts, something like that. Or they'll have the father-daughter dance, those things really kind of highlight fathers as well too. Again, I think the message that we want to really send home is that, like, we don't need to single out the dads. We just need to say, hey, it's okay to be a part of the PTA. Like, it's mm-hmm. cool. It's okay. We can make the PTA cool and it can be fun. It doesn't have to be, your grandma's bake sale like it used to be many years ago. We're doing a lot of really cool stuff. And, if you had asked me if I wanted anything to do with the PTA 4 years ago, I would have tucked and rolled far away from you. So, I mean, I'm here, and, somebody reached out to me and talked to me and was like, there was some value of me helping out at some events, and it felt really good to see an event take off at the school, and it just kind of snowballed out of there, So, we just keep trying new things, keep trying to be consistent with new things, and, hopefully we'll get more male memberships as the time goes by.
I really think we need the perspective. I mean, it's a different perspective coming from a man. I know my husband has very different ideas about things than I do. So I would love to see the men more involved and actually, this is a membership run association. So you as a member have a voice. You have a voice at your local PTA, you have a voice at the state PTA, and you have a voice at the national PTA. So use that voice, become more involved, make changes. It's your organization, it's your association. So I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to point out too, when we're talking about events, like, I don't know, most schools that I hear of in New York State, they have some sort of Mother's Day event, whether it's a plant sale, a pot sale, a coffee sale, whatever. The last couple of years, like, I have gone above and beyond to like drag dads to the Mother's Day plant sale at our school, because I mean, like, how great is that of showing that, like, you want moms selling their own plants to their kids when they come out to buy something for mom? That to me was like a no-brainer. And we really got a lot of cool feedback with that one.
One of our past state treasurers, Neil Joe Henning, had a comment about advocacy and how he got very involved in PTA after going to a legislative advocacy breakfast with kids when they were in elementary school. So, I just think that anytime that the dads can get involved at any age group is a great thing.
That's a great point too, because at our Leg Ed breakfast in the Central Hudson region, I was able to bring my daughter, and we've gone on to go to lobby days. And right before COVID broke out, we were up there lobbying for to stop the sale of flavored e-pens and vapes. And my daughter was so fired up when she got home about, like, just being a part of that, advocating. And it's like, you kind of step back and you see that from the kids' eyes, and it's like, it really makes a difference.
I remember back when my kids were in elementary school and I had no idea what the PTA did, what it stood for, what it meant to be a member. Had I known back then, I think I would have been even more involved. And now that I'm a staff member, they're out of school by now, but I will always be a member because it's just so important. All right. They love the idea about the Mother's Day involvement. The regions can also help with your advocacy. I know the regions do a lot of advocacy events, and definitely the units can get involved with participating in those. Oh, this is funny. My husband and I compete for who signed up more members. He won.
Nice.
That comes from our mom, Mary Sotomayor. That's awesome, Mary.
That's a good competition to have.
That's definitely a good competition to have.
He always wins.
He always wins. That's great. All right, so I think we're going to, gosh, we really got through a lot of material really quickly. Do you have a question about national PTA? Have suggestions for engagement of males that we can also utilize? I would definitely do a search on the national PTA site for resources that are available there. Kevin, do you know of any specifically?
Does National PTA have suggestions for engagement of males that we can also utilize? They have a whole section. Their website is very similar to the New York State PTA. You'll go under like the membership tab, and then there's a whole male engagement. They also have a search bar in the upper right-hand corner that you can just type in male engagement, and you can find a lot of resources and tools there as well too.
All right, I don't see any new questions. Anyone else have a question for Kevin? As he stands by, eagerly waiting. Great presentation, Kevin. Comments coming in.
Thank you. And yet, this is again an ever-evolving thing with the PTA, and now especially we're going into uncharted waters. Advocacy, breaking down barriers, other ideas, because as you all know, school's not going to look the same as it has in the past.
I think the PTA is going to help our parents stay connected. And I think we need to utilize that aspect of what we do this year more than ever, and be a resource for those parents to get the information and that they need in order to move their way through. All right, well, I think we're going to go ahead and end the session for today. And this will be recorded and available on the website on the nyspta.org. We'll have the slide deck and also the recording. Give us a week or so to make that happen. And then we are going to now move over to the mental health panel, and I'll see you all there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.